Hello again. I wanted to go over another like Biden Cabinet ZOG meme. I went over another one that was a bit smaller than this one, but this one just includes more people, so whatever, I'll just tackle this one as well. Just getting right into it, first it says Kamala Harris, who's married to a Jewish guy. Again, like with all these memes, I don't really see marriage as like being a big deal at all or signifying anything really. And it's kind of ironic because in the meme they say that it's Jew racists who are controlling the government, but if they're so racist, why are they marrying non-Jews at such a high rate? Like everyone knows that the intermarriage rate of Jews is like pretty high in the US unless they're like religious. So yeah, like marrying Kamala Harris, who's like this like non-white, non-Jewish girl, like how is that racist? And again, what does that have to do with anything really? So they're just like grasping at straws like they always do. Biden, like 3 of his children married Jews. Again, that really doesn't matter to me, but I will say Hunter Biden's first wife wasn't Jewish, and then his second wife is like this adopted girl from South Africa. So she was adopted by a Jewish family, but isn't like ethnically Jewish or anything like that. But again, it's like doesn't matter. It's like a really BS. Like at the end of the day, I guess, you know, being married to a Jewish person ensures you're probably not going to be like super anti-Semitic or something, but beyond that, I don't see how it affects like what kind of policies you're going to pursue. And you probably won't be like rabidly anti-Israel or something, but yeah, anyways. And then for Pete Buttigieg, they have to look at the deputy secretary of transportation. So I don't know why you'd look at like a deputy under someone rather than just like the person who's actually in head of that department. And another thing is like they look at a lot of these like random departments. Like I don't think the Department of Transportation or whatever is like a big deal. Like I don't see how Judaism could affect that anyway, so it's stupid. The next two, Anthony Blinken and Janet Yellen, are actually pretty good examples of like Jews in high-ranking positions. That's fine. Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, those are actually like important positions. But then we get to the Secretary of Defense, and it's like this black dude, and they have this like note that lists all these generals who are supposedly Jewish. First off, I'll say that there are a bunch of generals in the US military, depending how you define it. At least for 4-star generals, which some of these people were, you have like hundreds, if I'm not mistaken. So not only are they like taking like a handful of generals, most of these people aren't Jews at all. Like I looked it up, none of them have any evidence of being Jewish, except David Goldfein is the only Jew I could confirm. A decent amount of them are retired, the ones that they list in the meme. And not only that, there's direct evidence against them being Jewish. Some were clearly raised Catholic, or one of them is a Greek guy. I mean, some of them don't even have stereotypically Jewish names. I guess they think a dude named Abrams must be Jewish, but like he's not, no evidence. And like Thompson, I mean, that's not a Jewish last name, so I don't even, like maybe because his name was David, but I mean, David Duke isn't Jewish. Like David's a pretty common name. The only other Jew was John P. Roth. And I mean, I'm assuming he's Jewish because of the last name, whatever. And it's just kind of funny that they, at the very end, they say, let's not forget John P. Roth, as if this dude is like some famous guy that we should know about. I don't know, I looked him up, like there wasn't anything like distinctive about him that was, I don't know like why they formulate some of these like weird statements and I don't know, sentences in the meme. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, is he some special guy that people should know about? I don't know. Merrick Garland is Jewish. Jake Sullivan is definitely not Jewish. It's like a super Irish name, and like there's nothing about him Jewish at all. And also his wife, Goodlander, or that's her last name, is not either. Is like a nice Irish boy and a nice like waspy girl, or maybe she's Irish, I don't know. But again, it goes back to like, if you took the word of all these white nationalists, you would assume that like 50% of the US population is Jewish, because they just call everyone a Jew. But his deputy, Feiner, is Jewish, so whatever. But again, it doesn't really matter if like the top guy isn't. When we get to the Secretary of the Interior, Deborah Haaland is not, like the meme doesn't say she is, but it says that the Inspector General of the Interior and the Deputy Secretary of the Interior are Jews, and these people like work in the department, but they're not like super important roles or anything like that. They just work in certain, like a department in a department. They're not one rank below Holland. The person who is her deputy is a guy named Boudreaux, or Baudreau, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and he's not Jewish. So they just took like some random Jews in the whole department and just put them there. For the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, they just call her a crypto Jew and says she's married to a crypto Jew. There's no evidence of this. I don't know, there's no way to there's no way to refute that either. You can just call anyone a crypto Jew. They basically, anytime there's anyone who's like even remotely like Latino or like Italian or something, they'll just say like, oh, their ancestors were conversos, which means nothing. Like even AOC will like claim to have Jewish ancestry. It's just like a weird thing that a lot of Latinos claim, and even if it's true, it doesn't matter, because you could have like converso ancestors from like 1492, and it doesn't mean they're gonna like have been Jewish that whole time and like intermarrying with other Jews. Like it doesn't mean anything really. But regardless, there's no evidence for this chick being a crypto Jew or whatever. The Secretary of Labor right now is an Asian woman named Julie Su, but Marty Walsh, there's no evidence that his last name is really Wolosky or whatever, and neither his mom. There's like he's basically like straight out of Ireland. Like his parents grew up in Ireland and speak like literal Irish, like Gaelic, and he does too. So his parents met like within Ireland, so that's like why they like kept the language alive and stuff. So yeah, there's no evidence he's like a crypto Jew or half Jew or anything like that. For Secretary of Health and Human Services, Richard Levine, or the transgender chick, whatever. She's not like the director deputy like right under Javier Becerra. So I mean she's up there in the hierarchy, but like she whatever isn't like deputy like reporting directly under Javier Becerra. For HUD, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, the deputy under Fudge is Todman. And so neither of those people are Jewish. And then Matthew Amon was like an interim secretary for only a couple months. And like, again, there's no evidence he's Jewish, so whatever. Even the last name Amon isn't particularly Jewish, so yeah, they're just making shit up. Jennifer Granholm, she's married to this guy Mulhern, but there's no evidence he's Jewish, and if anything, they're like a Catholic family. The husband like studied theology, I guess, and she converted to Catholicism, so I don't really see that happening if they're both like Jews or he's a Jew or whatever. And then the secretary or deputy secretary is a guy with the last name Turk, and he was born in like Ecuador or something, but moved to the US. I don't know, the last name Turk, like I wouldn't say that's necessarily Jewish, or I mean, who knows, he could be Turkish, I don't really know, but there's no evidence that he is either, so that's just like a toss-up and not important. Avril Haines is Jewish. She's only half, but like whatever, half Jewish, you could still call that Jewish. Also, they don't mention the deputy who's black and like obviously not Jewish, but when it's like a non-Jewish person in the deputy position, it doesn't matter. But when it's a Jewish person, but a non-Jewish person at the head, it matters. So it really doesn't make any sense. Like you could just as easily say from their logic, like, oh, the director of the national intelligence is like a black thing, like a black-owned thing, because the deputy is black and they really control it. Like it's so stupid. The deputy ambassador is a guy named Richard Mills Jr., not this Prescott guy. And the Prescott guy, he might be somewhat Jewish. It's unclear because his grandmother is a Holocaust survivor. Like I know they probably don't believe in that, but anyway, based on this article or whatever, that she's a Holocaust survivor, but I'm not sure if she's his step grandma or actual grandma. And then based on that, I don't know if he could be only like half Jewish because the grandma married like essentially like it's just unclear how Jewish he might be, if at all, is essentially what I'm trying to say. So, and he's not even the deputy, so it doesn't really matter. This one's really funny. They claim this person Nira Tandon is a B'nai Israel Jew, which is like one of like the really small Jewish populations in India, but there's no evidence of this, and she's a Hindu. And then there's no evidence also that Benjamin Edwards is a Jew, and like Benjamin Edwards is like the most waspy sounding name ever, so they're really just pushing their own people under the bus here. Stephen Vanish, there's no evidence, and Vanish isn't really like a Jewish last name. Also, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, like that's not a cabinet position. Actually, if you go to the Biden website or the White House Gov website, technically there's only 26 cabinet memberships or cabinet seats. This meme lists 30, but technically not true. Also, Vanish isn't even the director, he's the deputy, and he was made deputy under Christopher C. Miller, and now the director is Christine Abizaid, so they didn't even get that part right. Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education, they say he's a crypto Jew. I don't know about that. Like, again, it's probably just like a Latino guy claiming that he have like Converso heritage. That means nothing. I do believe the Deputy Secretary, though, Cindy Martin, is Jewish. Eric Lander is no longer there at the Office of Science and Tech Policy. They have Paul Nakasone is a Japanese guy who's director of National Security Agency. He's married to a woman who has like a Jewish last name, so that's like a probability, but again, doesn't matter. And George Barnes Jr., there's no evidence that he's Jewish and not like a Jewish name. Isabel Guzman is another LARPer, Latino, like with possible Converso heritage, and she also has like German and Chinese heritage, this article says, so it really like, it's just like a LARPer Latino. Yeah, just like not important. For Cecilia Rouse, they say she's not the real chair of the economic advisors, the Semite Jared Bernstein is. I mean, they're just saying that because she's black and they probably think she's like too dumb to be the chair. It doesn't matter anyway though, because Jared Bernstein did actually succeed her, but I mean, there's no evidence that he was like pulling the strings earlier on or anything. And then we have John Kerry, who is half, but he's not like the special presidential envoy for climate, which again, I don't see how being Jewish would even affect that, but they say he's like the real boss of the actual envoy, Michael Regan, but There's just no evidence for that. They're probably just saying that because he's black. Alejandro Mayorkas, he is Jewish. He has Jewish ancestry, but like lived in Cuba, or like is from Cuba. He has like 2 deputies of Security of Homeland Security. Neither of those are Jewish. This person, Sherwood Randall, is, but she's not a deputy, so they're just like putting her in there. Or she's not like a deputy like right under him. She just has a different role. Lastly, we have Ducklow, who was like the press secretary, I guess, for Biden for a time. He's no longer there, and I couldn't really find anything about him, so I'm not sure about that, but it doesn't matter because the White House Secretary of Staff was Ron Klain. I think it's someone else now, but the new person is Jewish anyway, so anyway, that's all there is for those individuals. I'm going to try to like revise the meme to show what it actually looks like. And there's even reports that, or like articles talking about how like Catholic the Biden cabinet is, which makes sense because he's Catholic. I mean, obviously everyone knows that like Jews and Catholics are both like heavily disproportionate on the Supreme Court. And like both groups kind of have this culture of like study and stuff like that. So that would explain like why a lot become lawyers and politicians, judges, etc. But this whole like notion that if you are married to someone or like distantly related or whatever to someone Jewish, like they're going to control all your policies, makes no sense. It defeats their whole purpose of calling Jews racist because Jews clearly marry with non-Jews. And at the end of the day, most of these positions like are totally not even that important, like in the grand scheme of things. Like ironically, some of the top positions that are run by Jews, like you could argue that if they have like Zionist sympathies or something, that could affect like how public policy is made. But like a lot of these, like, you know, someone dealing with like healthcare or like agriculture or transportation, like that has nothing to do with being a Jew. So I don't know, at the end of the day, like, it's just more dumb bullshit. I'm gonna release this video with like a revision of the meme, and yeah, just like and subscribe, and peace out.